you know, ever since I was like probably 16, my birthday is also on Halloween, which is like weird, but it's made it really fun. So yes, I am a fan and I love the genre.
Welcome to Watch Mojo's Poppin The Culture, your weekly pop culture destination. And me, well, I'm your host with the most black t-shirts in his wardrobe. That's right, it's me, Mr. Hollywood himself, Matt Demers. Such a fun show coming your way. I've got the director, the screenwriter, and cast of Netflix's new horror movie, There's Someone Inside Your House. Stick around for that. But first, let's jump headfirst into those Hollywood headlines. All right, this is the part of the show where we like to dissect some of the more interesting developments out there in La La Land. And of course, to help me break it down, he's back on the show, Cassius Morris. Cassius, how are you?
Matt, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, and definitely a pleasure to be back on so soon here. I'm flattered.
Now, this is not a beauty podcast, but I can't help but notice your hair.
We got a bit of it.
It looks good. It looks good.
Thanks, man. No, I appreciate that. Yeah, we switched it up a little bit. Got to keep people on their toes. So that's exactly what we're going to do.
Okay, it actually ties into one of the news stories that I want to chat with you about, because I was going to say you look almost a little bit like Slim Shady, Eminem back in the day, right? Has anyone said that to you?
I tried to beat them to it, actually. So yes, it is in the conversation.
That's not a bad thing.
No.
But speaking of Mr. Eminem, the rapper, the artist, the icon, well, he's got his own restaurant. That's right. It's called, and I swear I thought this was a joke, but it's real. It's called Mom's Spaghetti, based on the lyrics of
I might as well just take my headphones off now, and we'll just end it now. It's too perfect. It's too perfect.
What is going on? Okay, I have to mention this because, by the way, it's in downtown Detroit. So if you want some Mom's Spaghetti, you got to go downtown Detroit. But there was a few pop-ups that were played with. Now it's an official thing, and he was actually there. Eminem, Marshall Mathers, was actually there serving up some Mom's Spaghetti through the drive-through window. If you went on opening day, the question, of course, would you eat at Mom's Spaghetti, Cassius, if you found yourself in downtown Detroit?
Not only would I eat, I would probably gorge myself at the Mom's Spaghetti restaurant. You know, it's funny. I was just thinking about this the other day. I was thinking, Eminem, I wonder if he'd make some sort of sauce or so. I swear on my life, I was thinking, would he do a Mom's Spaghetti thing? And I thought, no, he probably wouldn't want to go there. It would be weird for his brand. And lo and behold, Matt, here we are.
I honestly thought it was like one of those late night talk show bits where they would,
like a monologue thing?
Yeah, or like they would do like a fake skit or prank or but no, it's all real. And of course, what's the song? It's Lose Yourself, right?
Lose Yourself, of course.
But I mean, I have the lyrics. They're classic. You can find them in memes and GIFs all over online. But it's not really that appetizing. It's his palms are sweaty, knees weak, arms are heavy. There's vomit on his sweater already. Mom's Spaghetti. So what's happened is he's thrown up. He's so nervous. He's thrown up his Mom's Spaghetti. It's not appetizing.
And that is the branding pitch for the meal, which is, again, I don't know where this, I don't know if vomiting is encouraged in their bathrooms. I don't know exactly how this works, but.
Yeah, if you're going to do a rap battle, have some Mom's Spaghetti, and then it might come back up.
That's what they need to do, have a rap battle in the restaurant. It's the cherry on top of the spaghetti.
This is real, folks. I promise you. You don't need to Google it. This is a real restaurant. Anybody else that you think should get some sort of restaurant or branding? I don't know. I have one, only because anytime I hear the name Ariana Grande, I think of coffee. I think Starbucks. Exactly. So I think Ariana Grande should open her own coffee-themed restaurant. That would make sense.
It should be at least something on the menu, if not an entire restaurant. And I think that you're on a good train of thought with this. I mean, we've seen Travis Scott and Sweetie get their own McDonald's meals. You know, personally, I know that there is a Kiss Coffee House that exists in Myrtle Beach, California. So what I would like to see is a franchised version of the Kiss Coffee House all over the world.
I'm in. Kiss and coffee. Yeah, okay. I would do maybe AC/DC burger joint.
There we go.
Yeah, heavy metal burgers and beer. I love it. All right. I thought that was kind of fun. Speaking of fun, people love this show. Of course, it's been on since the 70s, and it's not going anywhere anytime soon. We're talking, of course, Saturday Night Live, the phenomenon, and it just had its big return. There's a lot of speculation. We actually speculated on the show. There was some rumors about cast members leaving. You know, I thought for sure Pete Davidson was on his way out. No, he's still there. So there was only one actually of the main cast. They bring in new cast members, but Beck Bennett was the one that left, and I actually kind of liked him too. But they've released the slate of upcoming episodes. Owen Wilson had hosted it. I thought it went pretty good. You know, people have their very strong opinions about when the best cast was, the best time. So I guess it's all depending. Mm-hmm. Are you an SNL fan? Have you ever watched this show? Are you still watching this show?
I drop in and out. I like to sort of keep it in my peripheral knowledge of pop culture, but you know, definitely an undeniable powerhouse in the world of entertainment. One of the recent things that got me back on it was, of course, the passing of Norm Macdonald.
Yes.
So I went back and started watching all the old Weekend Updates and stuff. So that's probably my favorite.
So great. Listen, I love Norm Macdonald. It was so fun. And they paid homage to him on the show on Weekend Update. They played some clips. But he was just the best. And we've, I think we're all going to miss Norm. He was just one of the funniest guys. Okay, so I mentioned Owen Wilson hosted this one. Here's some of the upcoming hosts. People are kind of scratching their head at next week because it's Kim Kardashian West. I mean, I guess she's still married to Kanye, technically. So
I think it's a fake for the record, so that's my opinion.
Yes, you did say this before. You think it's a sham.
I still think it.
And Halsey. Halsey is the musical guest. October 16th, we got Rami Malek. He's Mr. Robot, the upcoming James Bond, of course. He plays the bad guy. Young Thugs. So I think that one would be interesting. And October 23, returning to the show, Jason Sudeikis. Right now, Ted Lasso is his big deal. He's coming back. And Brandi Carlile is the musical guest. So out of all those, and that's all we have. That's all we know so far. Who are you most excited for? And does Kim Kardashian deserve to host Saturday Night Live? Because people say no.
You know, I can see where they're coming from for sure. I think I have a sort of unpopular opinion, and I've turned the corner a bit on Kim Kardashian, and here's why. I think that anybody who is so methodical with their day-to-day sort of publicity and basically staying relevant for as long as she has, there's got to be something there. She may not be able to sing, she may not be able to dance, but there's something there that she knows that obviously I don't, and a lot of people don't, in order of getting herself to that level. So I applaud it, honestly. Whatever she can get, I think, you know, maybe she deserves. I don't know, Matt. How do you feel about it?
They're branding geniuses, and I think it all kind of boils down. We talk about Kim, we talk about Khloe, and now the Jenner are like billionaires, or at least one of them is. It's insane, but I think it boils down to their mom, Kris.
Yeah,
she's a mom. What do they call it? A mom manager, momager, whatever they want to.
A momager.
Yeah, I think that's a thing, or maybe I made it up. But she's like the best at marketing and turning her family into living, breathing products.
She's the mega mind of Hollywood, and she's created a brand for all of her. I mean, think about it. And even anybody who dates a member of the family, suddenly it's their real estate, so to speak, in the entertainment world goes way up.
Any association, really, right? Even past like that Scott Disick guy. I mean, he's still in the headlines. And of course, Kanye will be forever linked to Kim. And well, they've got kids. I mean, their family is going to be just fine heading into the future. Even though their shows ended, Keeping Up with the Kardashians, we can.
Oh, it did.
It ended, okay. Yeah. But I mean, you wouldn't know it because you can literally keep up with the Kardashians every.
We don't have a choice but to keep up with them. So I thought it was just mandatory at this point.
Everywhere else, we could see them, keep up with them. All right. So that's SNL. Speaking of some announcements that are coming out of future performances, Super Bowl is coming up. I know there's a lot of football fans out there. I mean, we have to wait till January, but for those that aren't big into the actual game, a lot of emphasis goes on the halftime here. And I purposely plucked this out because I know you do the music podcast here with Watch Mojo Intersleeve. But so here's the lineup for Super Bowl 56. All right. Wow, this is pretty good. Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Kendrick Lamar, Eminem,
Oof.
Mary J. Blige are all set to perform at the halftime show. So there's usually one or two. Last year it was just The Weeknd. I don't know if there's any guests that came in with them. I forget. But this time
I don't think so.
No, I think it was just solo, right? But this time, I mean, that's a stacked. Well, you tell me. What do you think? Impressed?
I mean, beyond. I mean, I don't know exactly. The one thing I'm curious about is how this is all going to tie in. Are we going to see everybody together? Are we going to see Mary J. Blige with Eminem? Or so I don't know exactly how it's going to work. But look, Mary J. Blige especially, somebody I think I've underrated. I didn't realize how big of a part she was in the hip hop scene from her relationship to Jay-Z with all these guys, like she's huge. And I mean, Kendrick Lamar too, somebody who I feel like the next big frenzy of hype in hip hop is probably going to be around him. I mean, he hasn't dropped an album in a number of years. He's now doing guest appearances in the Super Bowl. I think that means something's probably coming from Kendrick.
Yeah, no, I didn't even think about that, but absolutely. And then, I mean, Eminem going to be on that stage. As I said.
And he's promoting the spaghetti restaurant. So, I mean, the stock is going to go up, and people will be puking. It'll be great. He
better be wearing a Mom Spaghetti promotional T-shirt. He better be. No, I'm excited for this one. Listen, and it got me thinking about past Super Bowls. Is there any halftime show that really stood out? I mean, obviously, given our ages, I mean, some of the older ones we probably missed out on. But what about you? Any ones that were kind of highlights, those halftime shows?
I think of The Weeknd just because it was recent. And that one was really big, I think, for Canada. Just, seeing a dude who was, in his own words, homeless on the streets of Toronto,
wow.
Going from that to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I mean, incredible. But, Lady Gaga stood out to me when I was a young kid, too. But it's weird. I always get this strange sense of being out of the performer, but even though I don't know them, because I just picture them as a kid in a room, maybe just like this one saying, one day people will know the name Katy Perry, or they'll know the name Lady Gaga or whoever. So always a sense of pride for whoever it is, whether it's cheesy or not.
No, you're right. And I think that people might be saying The Weeknd, really? But listen, he also hosted it during we were in the midst of COVID lockdown, right? So what he was able to kind of do with all the restrictions, he could only do certain things at certain parts of he didn't have the whole playground to play with. He was kind of narrowed in. So I think he did something really interesting. Lady Gaga, for sure. I'm going to throw out J-Lo recently. Remember, she took the house down. She was with
Always
Shakira.
Does.
I mean,
yeah, that was a good one. I like that one.
She brought the flash. A lot of people say, if you go online and look at, Watch Mojo has a list, of course. Prince is one of the tops. People, that was in 2007. And the worst.
The worst.
Do you have a worst?
You
go first. I have one that.
Okay, I can think of, not at the Super Bowl, but the worst performance I've ever seen at a sporting event was Fergie singing the national anthem.
Yes.
Brutal, man.
I remember this. For sure. That's in the annals of time, not in a good way. Janet Jackson and Justin Timberlake comes to mind, only because I don't remember any of the performances on that halftime show. I only remember the wardrobe malfunction.
Of course. And that's such a, exactly, quote unquote. That was such a strange event. And again, I didn't see that happen live, but feels sort of orchestrated. I don't know if it's just me.
It definitely did. I remember watching it. I did watch it live, and I remember going like, wait, did I just see what I think I saw? And then they cut it, obviously, pretty quickly. But that whole thing eclipsed the game. It eclipsed all the other performers, because they weren't the only ones on that show. So, yeah.
It was the Super Boob, not the Super Bowl that year.
Yeah, and we're still talking about it. I still remember it. All right, before we go past those Hollywood headlines, it's Halloween season. Spooky season is upon us. And listen, I love me some Halloween, and everyone at this time of year wants to watch a good Halloween movie, whether it's a scary movie or Halloween themed. I asked you to pick out one that you might recommend to folks. I have one as well.
Okay. I hate to be vanilla with this here, but I'm going to have to be. The quintessential movie for me has got to be John Carpenter's Halloween.
Yeah.
I mean, does it get any better than Jamie Lee
Curtis? It does not. And I'll tell you why. Because you're right. That movie, and I 100% every year, it's a tradition, I have to watch it before Halloween. And I never get sick of it, and it still holds up. It's just masterful. But that reinvigorated the horror genre. The slashers that came all those years after, It's because of this
Yeah.
movie. It really started it. So yeah, no, that would have been mine. You actually stole mine. But if we're gonna do a new one, because that one came out in the 70s, pretty old.
Yeah, it was like 72 or something. Yeah.
You can still find it, obviously. Malignant is mine. That's a new one. That's
Ooh.
James Wan.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
I don't want to tell you what it's about because I went in blank, not really knowing, and boy, was my mind blown. Just take my word for it. Things take turns in unexpected ways. They play up a little camp, so when you're watching it, you'd be like, "Oh, that's not too scary," because it's kind of funny, but it's meant to be tongue in cheek a bit. But trust me, once the crazy hits, it does not stop. So that's.
I gotta check this
You
out.
definitely do. It's pretty new, but you can find it on your video on demands, whatever you got. All right.
Do you like the Rob Zombie Halloween
Oh yeah,
movies?
that's right. Rob Zombie did. I think he did two or three of them.
He's got a third one coming out now. I think.
like Rob Zombie as a director. He's got a really interesting. Like if you watch his movie, he did those movies like the Corpse. I forget the exact names of them, but he did a couple of like
House of a Thousand Corpses.
That's one of them. Yeah, exactly. With those characters, it's got this really just disturbing underbelly. But him as a director, like he's able to put this visceral frights on screen. I don't know. I kind of liked it.
Yeah, no, I dig it too, and that was actually my first exposure to Halloween as a kid. So I sort of knew of it in the modern version, and then to go back to the classic was very cool. So I love that. I love Halloween season.
Yeah, no, it's a fun time for sure, and we're counting it down here on this show. Don't worry. Cassius, speaking of counting down, don't go anywhere because we're going to be looking at a top 10 list where we go beyond the list. All right, Cassius, like we do each and every episode, we dig deep in the vast archives of Watch Mojo's top 10 list. We pluck one out and we go beyond the list with our own personal opinions, takeaways. Did Watch Mojo get it right or wrong? Who are we kidding? They rarely get it wrong. But who knows? Maybe this time they did. It's the top 10 comedy actors of all time. So if you go on Watch Mojo, you can find comedy actors for the decades, the 90s, the 2000s, the 80s, the 70s. This is the all-time list. So we're looking at the actors specifically who just had us busting a gut. They're just that funny. Are you a comedy movie fan? I love me some comedy movies.
Probably my favorite genre next to drama. Definitely always love a good comedy, especially some of the older classics, Planes and Trains, all that stuff. I love that stuff.
Oh,
yeah.
man. Hey, listen, I'm such a fan of you're right. Some of the older comedies are just classics. The new ones, the newer comedies, I don't know. I have a hard time finding one that I really like. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I don't know if there's modern
classics.
comedies classics. I think the last comedy that had me laughing so much that just I remember it vividly now is Bridesmaids. The cast was just hilarious.
Yeah. That's a hilarious one. That and I think of Superbad and 21 Jump Street.
Yes.
Those movies come to mind as modern classics, but it's hard to do nowadays. It's true.
You're right. But I mean, there's lots of funny folks out there. So, all right, let's start with this list. I am shocked that this gentleman is only number 10 on the top 10 funniest actors of all time. I would have put him much closer to the top, Mr. Bill Murray.
The disrespect. I mean, where do we start? This is the guy right here. Whether you've seen his movies or not, whether you were born when he was doing movies or not, you know who this guy is.
You know who he is. And Bill, if you're watching, I'm sorry. I didn't have anything to do with this.
And he's a frequent viewer, so.
He is. Me and Bill Murray are like this, even though he's a bit of a recluse. Apparently, he doesn't have an agent, and if you want to get him in a movie, you have to it's almost like you're playing.
You gotta
detective.
find him.
You gotta find a way to. You gotta mail. Yeah, no, seriously, he gets scripts mailed to him. It's a whole thing with Bill Murray, which is hilarious in its own right. But I mean, his list of movies, Caddyshack, Ghostbusters. Yeah. He has some really great one-liners in Ghostbusters. Just made that incredibly funny, and a good dramatic actor too. If you watch some of his recent stuff,
I haven't, but I got to because I mean, listen, he's one of the most acclaimed guys in Hollywood.
Yeah.
I mean, he's really it.
That's right. Started on Saturday Night Live, and look at him now. But yeah, Lost in Translation. That's one I would recommend. He was nominated for an Oscar rather. for that one. Okay, number 9. Again, I am shocked at how early these actors are falling on this list. Will Ferrell is number 9.
Will Ferrell.
Who? Oh man, he is, to me, he's one of those guys. No matter what kind of movie he puts out, okay. And then there was one of he was a race car driver. You know,
yeah.
There was Step Brothers. I will watch it just because of him. Right? It doesn't matter who's in it with him. Doesn't matter what the plot is. I know that Will Ferrell will at least have me chuckling.
Yeah.
At any given time. Are you a Will Ferrell fan? I'm a huge Will Ferrell fan.
You know, I am. And that's a good point you made, Matt, because at the end of the day, when you see him in a movie, you know he's going to deliver. And really, it doesn't depend on the rest of the story or anything. It just depends on him. And
really?
Elf, when you really think about it, one of the early modern classic comedies for this generation. I mean, probably watching it in school during Christmas time. Yeah. One of the legendary guys of that's still keeping it going for sure.
Yeah, no, you mentioned Elf. Can you imagine anybody else in the role other than him? He's got that childlike charm. I really can't. And you're right. Every Christmas I go on some TV outlets ask me to give Christmas picks. I always put Elf. It's a given. So yeah, Will Ferrell. Oh,
you have to.
My favorite of his, by the way, is Old School. Frank the Tank. If anyone knows, they know. But he's got a million of them. All right. Number 8, we're going to get it. Oh, yeah. So this is of all time. So there's going to be some maybe for the younger generations. Not many people might know some of these names. Mel Brooks. I think most people might know Mel Brooks. He was an acclaimed director in front of the screens, behind the scenes. Are you familiar with Mel Brooks?
I'm very familiar with the name. I will be honest about that.
Well, 70s films is the one is when you can really find him. But you can really look for him in things like Blazing Saddles, High Anxiety. He's a funny guy. He really is. And a lot of people look at him as an influence, like Conan O'Brien, the late night talk show host, of course. He really holds Mel Brooks in great regard for influencing his own comedy and others as well. All right, number 7, again, another name, and I'm a little bit ashamed because I'm a movie guy. I watch all the movies. Not 100% familiar with the Marx Brothers. Mm-hmm. The Marx, again, like you, the name is ringing bells. I would need to go.
It's a big name, but
I would need to go on the Google machine to see all the stuff that they put together. But Jewish immigrants from New York made it big. Or Watch Mojo's listing A Night at the Opera, Duck Soup as becoming some of their biggest movies. Okay, let's move on to number 6. I think we might have a lot to say about this guy, Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy, funny guy, but I feel like, Cassius, his career is almost like a roller coaster, right? Like like Saturday Night Live is really where he came into his own. I think a lot of people on this list are coming from Saturday Night Live. But yeah,
it's true.
And then he did things like Beverly Hills Cop, just so funny, Coming to America, just all these great, hilarious movies. And then his movies started going down, and they started doing kind of family stuff. You Doolittle, like Haunted Mansion, and then he did like Pluto Nash, which bombed. So
and then Norbit, which kind of bombed.
Norbit, yeah. And then he was, I don't know, it's been an uneven career. But I still like him. I see him pop up in movies. He had a bit of a career comeback. I'm praying to the comedy gods that he does a stand-up special sometime soon, because I think that's where he really excels.
That would be amazing. I think he just signed a 2-picture deal or 3-picture deal with somebody out there. I'm so great with my sources and facts, but I did see that, so hopefully we get something from him. But yeah, I agree. I mean, those comedy specials too, it's crazy because it was so unique, but it was so raw and explicit, even for like the 80s. Like to release something like that now might not even be possible. Mm-hmm. So really a moment in time with Eddie Murphy.
And no pun intended, because one of his comedy specials was actually called Raw. So there you
go. There you go. It was a little raw.
Number 5 on the list, Peter Sellers. Peter Sellers, very funny actor. I mean, if you don't know who he is, well, he was Inspector Clouseau in the Pink Panther movies, obviously before his passing. But I think that just says it all about his physical comedy. That's the thing about these actors, is sometimes you can get a great stand-up who can deliver those funny lines, but then you got an actor like Peter Sellers who could really do the physical comedy, like and not everybody can do that.
No, it's an acquired comedy for sure. And I mean, when you look at like the impact, like you talk about the influence of people on this list, The modern day Pink Panther, one of the biggest sort of physical comedies of that nature for this generation too. So I mean, Peter Sellers obviously a huge influence on guys like Steve Martin and many more.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. I am once again, I have to pick my jaw off the floor because this next entrant is only number 4. Robin Williams is number 4.
Oh, wow.
I would have pegged him at least in the top 2. So now I'm really intrigued. But Robin Williams is probably, if you talk about comedy actors, he's probably the first or second that will come to mind because his list of movies, from everything from voicing Aladdin, changing the game in animation, Cassius, to the Birdcage, to Mrs. Doubtfire. Hello. I mean, come on.
Jumanji. What else did he have? He had so many.
But he's also done some dramas as well. Patch Adams, The Fisher King. Just
Good Will Hunting. That was him, right?
Of course.
Okay,
Academy Award nominations. People just love him. He's one of those guys that you watch his movies and you just feel good about yourself, right?
Oh man, it's just feel good, and I would say an underrated comic to a degree.
His stand-up, for sure.
I watch his stand-up comedy; it's hilarious. But I mean, man, what a guy! And honestly, one of the comedians that I watch his interviews, and he knows how to make it funny and keep you engaged. But he wasn't afraid to be serious and actually give you a little piece of his own mind at times and things he was going through. Lots of hints in those interviews when you go back and look. Rest in peace to the man.
Absolutely. Yeah, no. If you watch some of his old talk show appearances, it's really fascinating stuff.
Yeah.
And he's also hilarious. Like his stream of consciousness is like a dog chasing his tail, and it's so great.
Great way to put it.
Yeah, no. Robin Williams, an amazing talent. Buster Keaton is number 3. And again, folks, listen, this is of all time. So obviously we're going back quite far here. He passed away in 1966. But for those that know, Buster Keaton know that he was truly funny. The Great Stone Face, one of the movies that they're listing here. Do you know anything about Buster Keaton? I know a little bit of his legacy, not too much.
This is one that I'm in the dark on, honestly. But if he made it number 3 on the list in this company, he's got to be pretty damn good.
Yeah, so to give you an idea, his biggest movies came out before the talkies. So he was doing silent.
Okay. Silent movies.
Films. My silent film knowledge, I don't review those ones, folks.
My great-grandparents loved his stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure they did, yeah. But this is of all time, so we had to go back. MoreMojo had to go back very, very far. All right,
Hey, this is the creator here. We got to go back.
You absolutely do. Well, number 2, I can't disagree too much because to me, he's one of the greats. And I can't believe he's actually not number 1. It's Jim Carrey.
Of course, right? We would have no list without Jim Carrey. I mean, I think I just saw this article the other day that said his run with The Mask, Dumb and Dumber, and the third one that he did was the most legendary run, I think, in any comedy series.
I was just going to say that. The year was 1994. You're right. It was Dumb and Dumber was The Mask, and Ace Ventura, Pet Detective. Those all came out after each other. The man was riding a wave of just success, and was so great in all of them. And then after that, he did the Batman Forever, where he played the Riddler. And then he started experimenting a little bit with Cable Guy, which I think has turned into a bit of a cult classic.
Yeah.
But yeah, just fun stuff. And I feel like now, I mean, he's done all kinds of movies, dramas, and whatnot. But I feel like now he's starting to embrace kind of his comedy roots. If you saw him in the Sonic the Hedgehog movie.
Okay, I remember that role.
There was kind of hints of I was like, wow, this is like Jim Carrey from 94. So it looks like he's having fun with it again, which is great because he's such a funny guy.
What do you think of the Jim Carrey public antics in the past 5 years?
Yeah, no, you're right. That goes back to the old question: can you separate the artist, the man from the work, the artist from his movies? It's hard, right? We talked a little bit.
It's hard.
Yeah, it is hard sometimes. But I think it all comes down to individuals. Like for me, I always put this as an example because before I used to be like, oh yeah, I can separate them. But then like Bill Cosby, well, I can't watch the Cosby Show now.
No.
Like I can't do that.
It just that's the thing. It depends on who it is and what they're doing. Like zany antics is one thing, crimes is another thing. But I don't really blame Jim Carrey because when you look at a guy like I think he made what 10 million for The Mask. So you think about the two movies that came right after. I mean, when you reach that level at such a young age, it's gonna affect the way you see life, and maybe you're gonna see things differently. So I don't know. Maybe he knows something I don't. But a fascinating guy, that Jim Carrey.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like Tom Cruise, right? With the whole Scientology debate. I still enjoy a good Tom Cruise film.
Mm-hmm.
Some people can't because they don't believe. So I think it all boils. It's not as black and white as some people make it out to be, right?
Exactly.
All right, we're getting close to number one here. A few honorable mentions to throw out that you may have been like, hey, where's this guy? Jonah Hill.
Okay.
Was listed. Jerry Lewis, of course, very influential. Leslie Nielsen. There's a funny guy from the Naked Gun movies. Mike Myers. Yes,
okay.
Of course.
Yep.
Austin Powers, the voice of Shrek. So much. Chris Farley.
Mm.
Didn't get to do a whole heck of a lot of movies. I feel like his comedy acting career was only getting started. I think he could have done amazing things. He was actually supposed to be the voice of Shrek. Did you know that?
I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah.
And then was it because he passed away?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jeez.
They even
You
had
a lot
to change.
coming.
Yeah, they had to change some of the animation because it was made to resemble more Chris.
No
So,
kidding.
Interesting.
Man.
Ben Stiller, honorable mention, and I'm going to throw out my own honorable mention because it's not listed here, and maybe it's just my Canadian hat that I'm going to put on, but John Candy.
Okay, yes, man. One of the best. You talk about feel-good movies and a guy that like just makes you feel good about yourself. That I felt like he was really my Uncle Buck. Like he was going to come check on me in a minute.
No. And that's the thing. It's funny, but like endearing. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
And like Robin Williams, who watches movies, you feel good. But yeah, you mentioned planes, trains, and automobiles. Some of the funniest stuff in a movie is in there, and thanks to him. And Steve Martin. Hello, Steve Martin should be on this list too.
He should at least have an honorable mention. I mean, come on.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm sure that lots of people out there have theirs, so put it in the comments. Number one, all right, people are going to, I had a glimpse as I was going through the honorable mentions. People might have some things to say in the comments. But again, remember, this is of all time, Cassius, all time. Number
Come on,
one,
guys.
Charlie Chaplin. Charlie Chaplin.
I mean, listen, before anybody complains, answer one question. Can he be beat?
No.
Can anybody go back and do it before he? I don't think so.
And that's the thing. Like, the man passed away in 1977s. And again, he was doing movies in the silent era. But his physicality and the way he set things up, and it really changed the game. But think of us now, our current year, we still can picture, even if you've never watched one of his full movies, you still know what Charlie Chaplin looks like. Right, the top hat. He had the kind of the Hitler mustache before the Hitler. But we know him. Like Marilyn Monroe, rather. Not Marilyn Manson.
Yeah. Depends
But
who you ask, I guess.
You just know what these people look like. So that's a testament to his legacy. But he was doing all kinds of stunt comedy, having buildings fall, but he would strategically place himself where he would go through the window, not get hurt. I mean, this was funny stuff.
It's crazy to think, and I mean, probably didn't get in it too much for, like, a lot of people start acting to be influencers, so to speak. And I know that that term didn't really exist back then, but how much can you be of influence if you're not talking in the movies? I mean, it really shows just a love for the cinema, because he just really wanted to do it and think of these crazy situations. And the few quotes that he did share, I've heard this saying that, like, the less you say, the more valuable your words become. And I think he is a perfect example of that, because we remember every last word this guy said.
Yeah, no, for sure. So I'm not going to argue with it. You can go through his filmography, even the Last Dictator, one of his final pictures, where he actually says a line at the very end of the movie. Just a wonderful talent, and like I said, we always remember the legends, and I don't think we'll ever stop remembering him. Cassius,
that's a tough list, but it was pretty solid, I gotta say.
Yeah, this came out 5 years ago, so maybe there's some new emerging comic actors. None that is necessarily coming to mind that I would slot in. Any recent comedy actors that have, I mean, we're not doing actresses. That's a whole other list, so maybe we'll do that another show. But the guys, any? Jonah
Hill was the best mention for me. I mean, you look at him in any of these roles, even if it's not a funny movie, he's got to be one of the best funny guys in Hollywood today. So yeah, that would be mine. I don't know about you.
Yeah, Jonah Hill. I don't know if I would categorize Ryan Reynolds as a strictly people probably put him in the action category, but
he's pretty funny.
He knows how to deliver a line. Ryan Reynolds, you see him in Deadpool or in any, like, again, in a talk show. If the man has a joke, it'll come across perfectly. He knows how to deliver a great joke. So he's always reliably funny is probably what I would say.
I would agree with that. Definitely. He's, again, a guy, you put him in the movie, he's established the average that this is going to be at a certain level, and he keeps that level. And I respect that very much.
Yeah, very few in the biz. But Cassius, you're one of them. So I got to thank you.
Same to you, my friend. It's always a pleasure coming on.
Thanks for helping me hold it down here on the show. It is now time for our Mojo Chats. Yes, Chats of the Week with some of the stars of There's Someone Inside Your House. We're starting with Sydney Park. Lock your doors, check your closets, because There's Someone Inside Your House is a new horror movie coming to Netflix. And I've got Sydney Park, one of the stars. Sydney, how are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm fantastic. Listen, I have to welcome you to an illustrious group of Scream Queens. That's what you are now.
I'm honored. Like, truly, it is an honor. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, I watched this movie. I had so much fun watching it. I think you do a fantastic job along with the rest of the cast. But talk to me about, horror movies. Are you, as not as an actress, but as a movie watcher, are you a fan of this material?
I am a fan. It took me some years to get used to being so scared and honestly kind of scarred when I would sleep at night. But, ever since I was like probably 16, my birthday is also on Halloween, which is like weird, but it's made it really fun. So yes, I am a fan, and I love the genre.
So you were born on Halloween. Wow, that's like predetermined. You have to now do horror movies because of that. It's in the stars. Who are some of your favorite Scream Queens of the past? Do you have one that you really enjoyed the most?
Yes. We were just talking about this, but Jamie Lee Curtis. I love Shelley Duvall. Honestly, Brittany Snow in Prom Night. Amazing. Yes. I don't know if I feel like that is such a sick movie. She is amazing. And I just love her colors and layers as an actress. But Neve Campbell, of course. And the list could go on. There actually is the movie The Final Girls with Tessa Farmiga. Love Tessa Farmiga as well.
Amazing. Yeah, no, and it's really great when you watch these actresses or actors in these horror movies, because it's really a gauntlet of emotions from the beginning to end. And your character goes through a lot. Talk to us about this movie, and I read that you described it as almost a John Hughes horror movie. That is such an interesting way to put it. Explain to people, set the stage.
Yeah, so we pay homage to this 80s type of filmmaking, with like the colors and the outfits, even the language, like how we talk to each other, the dialogue. It's just like it's grounded and real, but it feels like a throwback. Our music, our soundtrack is cool, and it's got like this sort of like synth sound in there. It's like it's interesting. But I would say it reminds me of The Breakfast Club in a way, where you have like this group of outcasts, and we obviously are like friends, as opposed to The Breakfast Club where everybody was like going at each other's necks. But we have a group of friends who are different and cool and weird. But it is a coming of age story in a lot of ways. And Makani is going through her own, teenage crisis of like falling in love and then not telling her friends about that. But then of course we have the obvious with these like mass killings, and it's pretty terrifying.
Yeah, no, it's really well done. No
Thank
buckets
you.
of blood were spared. It's a fun time. And I think
Yes.
And I thank you for all the enjoyment. And we encourage everyone out there to go check it out over there on Netflix. Thanks, Sydney.
Thank you, Matt.
All right. And now for some more interviews from There's Someone Inside Your House. It's Asia Cooper, Jesse LaForette, Dale Wibley, and Diego Joseph. Take a look. We here at Watch Mojo love us some horror. Yeah, just type it in. You can find a top 10 about all the genres of horror. And I got a feeling this movie is going to end up on one of them because it's so great. It's a love letter almost to those 90s slasher movies, but with a contemporary feel. I mean, we got a big group of cast members here. We got Asia, we got Jesse, we got Dale, and we got Diego. Hey guys, how you doing?
Hi.
Good. How are you, Matt?
Good. You know, let's start with our love of horror, and I'll go through the list, and I want you to tell me your fave, that one horror movie that maybe that you watched as a kid that stayed with you, or maybe it's recent. You tell me. Asia, I'm going to start with you. Which horror movie is one that you really love?
I really hate horror. But let's see. I guess from when I was a kid, I remember Chucky. That's like the one that comes to mind. And then as a teenager, I remember. I don't think I was a teenager, but I Know What You Did Last Summer. But the one with Brandy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I love them all. Those 90s slashers are so much fun.
Yeah.
Jesse.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. My dad made me watch The Evil Dead when I was 8, and that turned me off from horror for a while.
Good.
I was 8. It was like so crazy to watch. But like as I've gotten older, I think horror movies have just gotten so much they're great already, but they've gotten so smart, like Midsummer, probably my favorite right now, is just really complex and really frightening in a cool way.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right about that. Dale, why don't you chime in? Give us your horror pick.
Ooh, okay. It's hard. One of my earliest memories of horror was watching The Sixth Sense when I was like 6 or 7, maybe even old, probably 8 or 9, with my mom. Scared the bejeebus out of me. Chucky is another one. I remember just seeing a trailer of it with my friend on a VCR. We were watching a VCR, and at the beginning of the VCR, it was a Chucky like trailer. Scared the daylights out of me. But yeah, I love new stuff. All the Nightmare on Elm Streets were amazing.
Yes, yeah.
Friday the 13th, all the collabs that they did with the Freddy versus Jason stuff.
Good
love
stuff.
that.
Yeah, no, there's so much to love. And Diego, let's end with you.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really start watching horror until like after I filmed this movie. And the reason is because when I was like 12 years old, I did see this trailer to this horror movie called Legion. And that scared the bejesus out of me. When that grandma pops onto the
grandma
wall.
climbed
Yeah,
on the wall.
the grandma climbed onto the wall. Worse that
I've seen
like
that
that
movie
gave me
7 times.
That gave me nightmares for 5 years. I couldn't not think about that when I went to sleep at night. So I swayed away from horror movies, but now I guess one that I really like is a classic like Scream, or Dale, you mentioned The Sixth Sense. I really like The Sixth Sense.
Yeah, those are all great. And you know what else might scare the bejesus out of people? Seeing someone in their house wearing a 3D printed mask of themselves.
Yeah.
Because that hello, that's what happens in this movie. And those were those 3D masks real, Asia? Those are real, right?
Yeah, the physical mask. Like we didn't really have any like special effects or any of that. So what you saw in the movie is what we also saw on set. It was terrible.
Yeah, no, it was terrifying, but it looked like the group was having fun, and I'll kind of end it to see if it was fun behind the scenes too. Sometimes movies can be all business, but sometimes there's kind of a friend dynamic. I don't know, Jesse, was it fun?
Oh yeah, I feel like we were all definitely friends on set. Like we had 2 weeks before filming just to hang out, and we'd like meet up in the lobby every night. So it was a very fun, probably the most fun and funny set I've ever been on.
Good. I didn't expect you to say no, but I mean,
No, we hated it. We all hated each other.
It looked like a fun time, and guaranteed you'll have fun watching it. Turn off the lights, grab some popcorn, and snuggle up. There's someone inside your house on Netflix. Thanks, guys. And finally, here's the director, Patrick Bryce, and screenwriter, Henry Gayden. There's someone inside your house.
What?
Hey, that's the name of the movie. I keep checking to make sure my doors are locked. Honestly, I've watched this and I'm having trouble sleeping at night, and I can thank you two. We've got the director, we've got the screenwriter here with us, Patrick and Henry. Thank you so much for chatting with me. I want to talk about this movie's kind of, did you take anything from those old school 90s slasher movies? Because that's what I took from it, because I love those movies, like your Screams. I Know What You Did Last Summer. Was there any inspiration that was taken? Because it felt like a bit of a love letter. Henry, what about you?
Well, it started with Stephanie, who wrote the book, and it was kind of a love letter from the jump with her. And then we just kind of kept seeing it through. And I think, Patrick said this before, but it's, we wanted to have that as kind of an element running through. So they're aware that I Know What You Did Last Summer exists, like Asia references it in the movie. But it's not, that meta commentary isn't the defining reason this slasher exists. It's just kind of a part of
color.
It's color for the movie. Yeah. So that was, of course, always there. And also then on top of that, we grew up on those movies. We love those movies. It's in our DNA. And so we're going to honor them in fun ways that we find throughout the process.
Patrick, do you have a favorite slasher movie from that genre?
I mean, my favorite slasher movie from those years and from that genre, I mean, I know it's a boring answer, but it's either Scream or Scream 2. And, those were ones that I was, probably some of the first movies that I went to see at a movie theater by myself with my friends. And, I think at that point I still had to have my mom buy my ticket for me because it was rated R, and then let me go in. And, I love those movies, not only because of, obviously, like, I felt like I was getting to do something that felt very adult and naughty, by seeing them, but also, like, I fell in love with the characters, and I was, taken with also the craft of, all the kill sequences that are in those movies and how scary they are. And they remain to be scary to this day.
Yeah. When I saw that opening weekend in Memphis, Tennessee, someone stood up when Drew Barrymore was just looking around the house, and he was like, "Just run!" That's in my mind.
Yeah, I don't answer my phone when I'm home alone because of that movie, and now I have to check my closets thanks to your movie too. You mentioned, Henry, the screenwriter Stephanie, who did the original YA horror movie.
Yeah.
Has she seen this movie? What was her response if she did? Because I feel like that could be daunting, right? If you're adapting something, you don't want to, I don't know, don't want to ruin it.
It was daunting to give her the script, because I had to make some changes to make it a little more cinematic, and we just shifted the killer's MO a little bit and her identity, and so when I gave her the script, I was terrified, and then she read it, and her kind words were some of the nicest things I could ever hear from an author to have to adapt. So we felt good and had a great relationship throughout. So when we showed her the movie, I don't think we were scared at all, but her response, I think, exceeded even my expectations.
Yeah, I mean, she had come to visit set and gotten a small taste of, what we were doing and met the actors and stuff. And so she was, I think you're over the moon as an author that your work is even being adapted in the first place. And then the fact that we, I think, took it and ran with it was even more exciting for her. So.
Yeah.
All right, Patrick, last question for you, and I want you to help me clear this up, because I read this, and this can't be true, that in the movie, the killer wears masks, they're 3D printed masks of the victims, but were those really 3D printed? And if so, where are they now?
100%.
Really?
They're right behind you.
Yeah.
Don't say that.
Yeah, we tried a bunch of different methodologies for this, and ultimately decided to 3D print the actual masks because they're the ones that ended up looking the best. I wouldn't recommend that because it's very expensive and they're very fragile. So I lived in paranoia of these masks breaking the entire time we were making the movie, and they did break. I think like a third of the masks broke while we were making the movie, either in transit or by like a makeup artist pushing too hard with a brush or something like that. So, it's a situation where I'm very happy with the end result, but the process was super nerve-wracking doing it that way.
Well, it absolutely worked great, and we encourage everyone to check out the movie out there on Netflix. Well, that's going to do it for another episode, everybody. I want to thank everybody involved with Netflix's There's Someone Inside Your House for joining me today, plus Cassius Morris for joining in on all the fun. And hey, thank you for watching and listening. If you have something you want me to chat about, just drop it in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. Till next time, I've been Mr. Hollywood, Poppin the Culture.